Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV, where we believe that you could be a giant in your own world, and you have the potential to do, or have anything that you want. Today, we've got an amazing show. You got 3 giant triplets, and we're going to dive into Coz's world. It's time to wake up the sleeping giant. Woo! Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris, and as always, I'm here with your host, Nicholas T. Smith, the author of The Giants and the Smalls. And together, we have created one glorious show called Wake Up with Giants TV and a tribe of giants. That's right. Yeah. Well, then we'll owe David Archuleta like 9 cents, so don't do that. So.
If you think that, you're wrong. That's what you're saying in the pre-show. All my life, I wish that I could sing, and I wish Nick could.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you, man.
He's gonna sing your introduction here in a second.
Yeah. Will you tell Santa when you see him?
Yeah.
That's what I want for Christmas. Yeah. Thank you.
No, he's gonna ask you what you're gonna give for Christmas.
Oh my gosh, you guys are hilarious. This is gonna be a good show, as you can tell. But remember this. You go to giantsandsmalls.com, take our giant quiz. That thing is awesome. It's not as awesome as the show's going to be, but it's neck and neck. So go do that. And then come join us on Facebook, a tribe of giants. It's a place of about 4,300 amazing, glorious, beautiful, some bald, amazing human beings
and growing.
Yes, and growing. Highly engaged.
That's what giants do.
Yeah. We were going to call it the Bald Men's Club. But women wanted to come too, so it's like, all right, well, tribe of giants will do.
Elena says Bald Men Club. I like that. Thanks, Elena. Way to rub it in. Which one of these is not like the other?
Who's bald?
Owning it, man. We're owning it.
Yeah.
Bald is beautiful.
Bald is.
That's what we have to tell ourselves, though.
Can they see with all this glare? There's like 3 big sparkles coming out of the screen.
We love to sparkle.
It's glorious.
Yeah, we're gonna sparkle and shine here in just a second. But go to YouTube, subscribe, hit the alert button on the subscription so you know when we go live every single dang time. Now there won't always be 3 glorious sparkling triplets, but I guarantee you we will always have an amazing show. So with that pressure, Nick, will you sing Coz Green's introduction for us?
Please don't. I don't think I'm going to sing it, but today we're honored to have Coz Green with us.
Yeah, let's put a hat on so we can tell one
I feel weird, like I'm doing something, like I'm going to get in trouble or something. So I'm good.
Yeah, now
ready,
you're good.
Ready, go.
All right. So from his early beginnings as a young entertainer at just 13 to making headlines as a news reporter for ABC Talk Radio by 17, he said earlier he's got the face for radio. So Coz's dedication to the world of broadcast media spans over 3 decades. His voice is echoed in major league sports arenas and resonated in schools across Utah. Beyond the mic, Coz has championed charity efforts, raising a staggering $1 million for Utah charities during the COVID-19 pandemic. As an international speaker, he's inspired many with his insights on personal development and business. And if that wasn't enough, he's also an upcoming author with a holiday release titled Through Santa's Eyes. But at the heart of all of it, he's a devoted father and grandfather. Coz's journey is a testament to what it means to live a giant life. Coz, welcome to the show.
And this is a giant live.
Good morning, Giants.
Touchdown!
Touchdown!
We're going to be watching some TV back here, so if somebody scores, we'll let you know what the updated scores are.
World news, we got everything. So
if we don't catch it because it's behind Coz, then let us know.
Hey, somebody's got to be here in the control room actually pushing all the buttons. So,
well, yeah. Don't push my buttons, Coz.
That's not my job.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive in. Our goal with this show is to really highlight in your journey a possibility for others in their own journey of moving from feeling small in your life to feeling like a giant. And, a lot of people from the outside, they see your reality as it is. They compare it to their own and they think, man, they've never had a hard time in their life. They've never gone through difficulty. I don't relate to them. And that's where we want to pull it in and just say, no, you're a human, just like everybody in this room is a human. And we're going to go through some stuff. And so we like to start in the non-conscious journey in our 12 journeys, because a lot of times people think they are something. They go through life telling everybody, this is who I am. They have justifications for it. They have assessments about themselves, judgments about themselves. Did you have anything like that?
Well, I grew up in Midvale, Utah, in a humble little home. I was a quiet, shy, lean little kid. So shy I couldn't lead silent prayer in a phone booth. When I was about 13 years old, seriously, I had one of those field of dreams experiences, and I've had 3 specific ones in my life. And that's when I got the call to be a professional entertainer. And it was really easy for me to hide behind the mask, so to speak, as an entertainer. I had the opportunity to now perform in front of audiences around the world. I've lost track of the shows. Remember the old 10,000 hour thing? Right. I think I did that by the time I was 17. But I really learned that I had to follow a different script. And whether you say, well, I don't want to follow some other script. Well, in a way, you have to think about what script you want to live by and then become that person. Too many people are focused on having and doing instead of being. So when I learned how to be that character, everything changed. But then I had to learn to do it without wearing the mask, so to speak. So I've been many characters throughout my entertaining career. The key was to realize I could be any character I decided to be. So I had to decide what character Coz Green was. Not character as in not authentic, because I think the real key is to be natural. But too many people live by default, not by design. So why not design who you are, decide what that script looks like, and then become that person. And so from that shy, introverted kid to the things that I've been able to do, that doesn't mean that I'm still not an introvert, but I've learned how to get outside of that. So when you say that sometimes we have dark nights of the soul, even I've had my dark night of the soul. This has become more public in the last few years. But in June of 2009, I went through my personal hell, my dark night of the soul. And not once, not twice, but 3 times on the same day, I attempted suicide. The train didn't kill me. The overdose didn't kill me. And the asphyxiation didn't kill me. Now, it wasn't like I kind of did it. No, they were all foolproof. I should not be here. But through a miracle, I'm here today. And can I take 1 minute and tell you how
absolutely.
I played out?
Yep.
So I had done everything right. Imagine this. I'm in the garage. It's late one night. My wife at the time, she's in bed. My kids are with their mom and for the summer. And I had been prescribed a cocktail of medications to try to feel better. And unbeknownst to me, those TV commercials that say these medications may cause suicidal thoughts or actions, they're not screwing around. Those disclaimers actually mean something. So I had been on this cocktail of prescribed medications for a couple of weeks. And later, a doctor in the hospital said, we're surprised you didn't jump off a bridge 3 weeks ago with what you were prescribed. Anyway, so there I am, late one night. I sealed that car up tighter than a drum. I had taken a dryer hose from the exhaust into the back window, driver's side, roll of duct tape. That thing was sealed up. It was a foolproof plan. I climbed into the seat behind the steering wheel, turned on the dome light, and choked down 3 or 4 months worth of a stockpile of sleeping pills. Because the strategy was, all I had to do was knock myself out enough that this asphyxiation would do the deed. So I remember I choked them all down. I turned off the dome light. I turned the key and I jumped. I had every intent that that was it. A day or so later, I wake up in the intensive care unit of American Fork Hospital. Now, think about the guilt and shame. I realized what I had done. And talk about being small. I don't think I've ever been smaller in my life. And when I finally detoxed enough and they'd gotten everything out of me that I could come to, I asked the nurse, what day is it? And she said, it's June 23rd. Now I went into panic mode because tomorrow was my 11-year-old son, Ben's birthday. And I had committed to always be there for Ben and pick him up.
Holy cow.
Well, my wife at the time, she was like, well, obviously you weren't thinking about this or you wouldn't have done this. You know, you wouldn't have been thinking about Ben or you wouldn't have tried this. You wouldn't even be here. Well, thank you for that. That's why I'm in this situation. And so later that day, the doctor came in and he said, you know what? You're stable enough. I'm going to release you from intensive care. And I was like, sweet, I get to go home. And the doctor said, no, you don't understand. I'm releasing you from my care. However, we're going to transport you to Provo Regional Hospital where you'll be admitted to the psychiatric ward. Okay, I just got smaller as they wheeled me to the ambulance and escorted me to Provo Regional. You guys ever seen the movie Patch Adams?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I had a Patch Adams moment. And I mean that in the greatest sense of the word, because growing up as an entertainer, I was in comedy. I'm not showing that right now, but we'll get funny later. But anyway, I want you to know that when I got there and I got detoxed and I started to connect with who I really was and be reminded of that giant is inside of me and stop squelching that. I had some of the most miraculous, amazing experiences in the hospital as I used humor and levity to not only heal myself, but also the other patients. Well, I got out of the hospital on a Friday night, and we're across the street at the Walgreens picking up the right prescription, and we get a call from Life Alert. Your mother's fallen, and she can't get up. And I'll fast forward to say that I had to go out of town with my wife. I wasn't able to go to the hospital right then when my mom was admitted into the hospital. We go to New Mexico, come back. Now it's Monday. I go to work, and I was in a meeting. I was in television at the time, and I was in a meeting, and the regional vice president came up to me after the meeting and said, hey, would you mind coming to my office for a minute? I heard you were in the hospital. So I went in, and he was a former BYU quarterback, and you can see the scene, pretty boy quarterback across the table from me. And he's like, yeah, I heard you were in the hospital for like over a week and a half. What's going on? I said, oh, Steve, it's my heart. And, yeah, they got it all fixed. And he was like, well, if there's ever anything we can do for you. I was like, yeah, you've had the home teaching training. I said, no, I'm good. And I went back to work. And the next day, as I was driving to my office.
Isn't that such a safe statement? If
yeah.
there's anything I can do, let me know. Like
yeah,
you just know. Yeah.
Because I won't ever call you, but thank you for the offer. And so the next morning I'm getting off the freeway, and my immediate boss said, where are you? And I said, I'm getting off the freeway. He said, hurry up. Steve's going to be here in a few minutes. He wants to meet with you. On the phone, I said out loud, I'm going to get fired because I hadn't been to work for 2 weeks. I hadn't talked to anyone. No one knew what was going on. And with HIPAA, they didn't need to know. But I thought for sure I was going to be fired. And so I got to the office, booted up my computer, and sure enough, Steve walks in the office. Never been to my office before because he was over the Western states. So I'm thinking, what's he doing here? He gives me one of these to come into my boss's office, and we sit down. And he said, Coz, I was getting ready for work this morning. I have a full day of appointments. And I had the strongest impression that I'm supposed to be here today. Why am I here? Well, you see, Steve, I had these heart problems but Coz, why am I here? I couldn't lie. If ever there was a time that the windows of heaven have ever opened up in my life, it was that day. And I felt unconditional love as I recounted to Steve the experience of the past 3 weeks. He started to cry. I started to cry. We stood up, we embraced. And when we sat back down, he said, just go home. Just go home and take care of your family. The business will take care of itself. This doesn't mean anything. You mean everything. Just take care of you. So I went home, took a nap, and as part of your outpatient protocol, you have to meet with a psychologist every day until they sign off that you're okay. And so I had an appointment at 3:00 that day with Marty, the psychologist. And at about 3:40 or so, my phone vibrated in my pocket. And I just had the strongest feeling that my mom had died. So I excused myself from the appointment, went out to the stairwell, called voicemail, and learned that my mom had passed. And I had not talked to her. I hadn't seen her in weeks, but I hadn't talked to her since she went into a coma. And I just called my boss and I said, hey, I'm not going to be in the office tomorrow. And he said, that's fine. We'll figure out a plan. Just go take care of you. So we buried my mom. And talk about one thing after another. You know, they really do come in threes like that. But it's not what happens to us in life. It's how we react and we respond to what happens to us in life. Not how you get out, but how quickly, how steep your trajectory out of those dark nights of the souls really is. And so after we bury my mom, fast forward a couple more days, my kids are now with me for the second half of the summer. Megan was 15 at the time. Ben was 11. Megan had just gotten her learners, so she was learning how to drive. And hey, I've got time now. My boss has given me whatever time I need to take to just put everything in order. And so I said, let's go for a drive, Megan. So we went to the garage, and I had not moved that car. I had obviously taken all the duct tape and dryer hose and everything off of it, which when I got home and did that, it was pretty haunting. So I get in the car and I go to start it. I can fix your computer, but I can't fix a car. I have no clue what's wrong. The lights come on. There's not even a clicking sound. So we towed over to a mechanic, and he puts it up on the lift, and he's looking around with the trouble light underneath. And then finally he says, hey, Coz, come over here. Look at this. What was going on when the car died? I wasn't going to tell him, well, I was trying to off myself. It was idling in the garage. And he goes, this is the craziest thing. Look right here. You see that big hole in the engine? That's where the piston came through the engine block and killed the engine.
No way.
And then it hit me. I realized had that car not died at that moment, it could have been 30 seconds later, 60 seconds, who knows, I would have died. But the engine, a perfectly good car, threw a rod, killed the engine, and it didn't kill me. I was flooded with the most amazing feeling that helped me see exactly what I was supposed to do with the rest of my life. This is not about me. This is about thee. So everything I do, and it can be misunderstood on social media because people see our posts and they're like, oh, look, he's just promoting himself. No, it's trying to promote the mission that you are worthy. You are enough. You are not alone. And there is a giant deep down inside of you that just can't wait to be awakened. So, my friends, awaken the giant from within. That's my mission, is to truly make a difference from the experiences I've had as an entertainer, a broadcaster, and now an author and everything as a speaker, I don't do these things on social media to promote myself. I'm here for you, to remind you that you can do it. That just like the Tin Man, just like the Scarecrow, just like the Lion that went to see the Wizard of Oz, you already have it right here inside of you. So get out of your own way and become the giant that you were created to be.
Guys, let's wrap up the show. Thank you.
That right there would.
Back to you guys.
You gotta give us a second. we're all choked up.
There's so much in that, though. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so I've been on an exploration lately around, the idea of God, divine, right? That you talk about. Maybe we'll go down this direction for a minute. A lot of resistance in my world over here, feeling aloneness, right? And I know others can relate to that. Inside of that, right, we start to close out any possibilities. We feel like we're isolated, that we don't matter. And we start to show up that way. We start to live our lives as though that's the case, right? Get to the point where it's so dark, like you say, that you end up doing something drastic, something extreme, that's irreversible. And the hope is that nobody ever gets to that point, right? And with some intervention here, unexplainable outside of divinity, right? There's no chance you should be on this show today. You shouldn't be here, but you should be here because it's exactly what needs to happen, right? It's this idea that there's something grander than us that even put the giant in there.
Yeah, who put the giant in there?
And who let the dogs out, right? Like, who put the giant in there? But to recognize that that's already in every one of us. So everybody watching this show, every one of us on this show, it's already in there. There's, Sunshine shared a comment with me the other day of there's no becoming a giant. I am the giant. So when I can recognize that I am the giant, then I can start to be that in the world. And then guess what shows up, right? But too many of us don't think we're that. We think we are the small. We think we are the insignificance that we're feeling. We think we are the justifications and happenings of our lives. We think that's us, right? And then we go about acting that out as if, and we confirm it in our reality, because to me, God has created such an incredible universe that you could really play out anything you can imagine. And too many of us are imagining smallness. We're imagining darkness. We're imagining hopelessness. What would you say to that?
Well, you got to change that inner vision, right? So behind me, we've got some TV screens, and every waking moment, and even sometimes when you're asleep, we're always watching something, right? And the mind cannot tell the difference between a real event and one that is vividly imagined. Let me repeat that. The mind cannot tell the difference between a real event and one that is vividly imagined. So what are you doing all day, every day? What are you watching? Are you watching your self-ideal channel of the person you want to be, the giant TV of everything that's possible? Or are you watching your self-image network that says, I'm not good enough. I'm too fat. I'm too bald. I'm too dumb. I don't have what it takes. You are the program director. You choose what you watch every day. Are you focused on what you want to be, have, and do? Or are you focused on scarcity and everything you're afraid of? Because most people in the world today are motivated by fear. And fear is nothing more than fantasized experience appearing real. It's not real. But because you see it and you believe it, then ultimately you achieve it. So you got to change your inner program. You got to change what you're watching. During COVID, everybody binged on Netflix and, the Tiger King and all that BS. And we're dumb. We become dumber today because that's the programming we're watching. But you're the program director. You get to decide what you watch all of the time. And I'm afraid you're watching a lot of crap. Because you're definitely watching crap there.
I'm having a distinction here real quick, just to highlight this.
Please.
Programming, right? From the time we're born to age 7, it's like just a flood of taking in everything.
That's when that's wet. All we're doing is observing at that point.
Yeah, observing and absorbing, right?
Yes, and absorbing.
And then you go into this stage of family teaches you and culture teaches you and society teaches you who to be, right? And then from 7 to 13, based on their script and their programming, like to hit on the idea of programming is you have programmed yourself or been programmed to be something less than what you really are. That's all that has happened, right? It is not a matter of worth or deservingness. It's simply programming, right? Because worthiness and deservingness is already there. It's a given. It's a natural right to be worthy and deserving. But this programming, like you're talking about, you go watch a show and it says, oh, you're stupid and you're this and I'm that. And we start to take that in and we start to imagine that in our world and we start to act on that. And it creates that reality. And we say, see, I told you so.
And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Exactly. Yes.
That's why fortune cookies and psychics are absolutely right, because you believe it and make it true.
Exactly. I heard somebody say, I think it was yesterday, I was watching a video on TikTok and the guy said, here's the secret where you'll outperform 99% of people. This is a secret. He says, don't self-sabotage in your lows. If you can just do that, then you'll be ahead of 99% of the people. And because when you're on your highs, you don't self-sabotage. You're out there creating something amazing. But when you're in your lows, you do things that create self-fulfilling prophecy and sabotage. And then that gets created from your lows. So when you're in your lows, just don't do that. You can feel it. You can have it. You can think it. Just don't act on it. Right.
And there are 12 real saboteurs. And I think in the culture here, the one that really is front and center is the judge saboteur. Imagine sitting up on the bench is this big judge. And that's the biggest saboteur for a lot of us in this culture. And so this judge simply has one message for us always. You're not worthy. You're not worthy of the blessings. You're not worthy of this lifestyle. You're not good enough. And then the other 11 saboteurs sitting in the jury box, they convict you and they sentence you. And to your point, Nick, that's when it's the hardest, is when we're at our lows, when we're acting small. We listen to those clowns. We do not have to abide by their judgments. It's only your judgment that matters. What other people think of you is none of your business. If it's to be, it's up to me. If it's to be, it's up to you. Be the giant you were created to be.
Got a lot of good giants on this. Watching you, Coz, here showing up. This is Paul Cardall, aka Facebook user.
Hi, Paul.
I'm gonna hit on something here because
I could go for hours about Paul, and I want to say something.
Yeah, and then I'll come back to.
Yeah, I just want to say something because this is what I'm grateful for. This is when I say that I'm the most blessed man on the the most blessed man on the planet. Kind of choked up.
With talent,
because, you know, a bell's not a bell until you ring it. A song's not a song until you sing it. Love wasn't put in your heart to stay. Love isn't love until you give it away. And I am so blessed because I have some of the most amazing people in my life. And a couple of years ago during COVID, I did a bunch of virtual galas. And as you mentioned in the introduction, raised over $1 million. I didn't take one penny of that. That was to help nonprofits survive during COVID. And I did a virtual gala, and Paul Cardall was one of our guests, and he talked, and then he played a song. And then subsequently, I hate to say this word, but then I used him several times on some of the other virtuals. We raised a lot of money. And I had Paul on my podcast. And then we started to have some offline conversations, and just grateful for those type of people who have come into my life, who have continued to help mold and shape me into understanding the giant I may one day become. So thank you, Paul.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. I'm going to pull in a thought here to play with. Okay. It's the idea of, let's use a chef as an image and a kitchen, a fully
Never
stocked
trust a skinny
kitchen.
chef. That's my motto.
Yeah. Say that again. I missed it.
Never trust a skinny chef.
Yeah. Well,
They won't
I'm
eat
a
their own
skinny
food.
chef.
I'm a great chef.
But imagine you've got this fully stocked kitchen. Everything that could possibly be put into any recipe is in this kitchen. Everything. Every possible mixture of food is already available to you, accessible to you. Then you have, that's the universe, that's God, what God has put into this world, universe, however you want to look at it, right? Source. For me, it's T-Rex. Somebody might say something else. There's a joke and a story behind that. But the idea here is that this is fully stocked. And you as the chef can create anything you can imagine from it. And there is no limitation. Yet some other chef comes in and says, you are unworthy of this kitchen. You are undeserving of any of the ingredients in this kitchen. You don't belong here. This is mine. You don't have access to it. I control that, not you. And we look at that chef and we say, okay, I'm going to listen to you, but that kitchen is ours, right? That kitchen is ours and everything in it is ours. Yet we go on and take on this persona of I'm not good enough to be in that kitchen. I'm undeserving of everything in that kitchen. What would you say to somebody that's in that position of feeling that undeservingness around that kitchen?
Well, we're on the internet, so this is not broadcast media, so we're not being governed by the FCC. But I would look you in the eye and say that's bullshit. And you have to be willing to call that for yourself. That's just BS. That's BS thinking. That's the most detrimental water you can let into your boat. And think about it. A boat doesn't sink from water, right? A boat sits in water. The Titanic unsinkable till it got water in its bow. And all you have to do is let a little bit of that water into your boat, and then you don't have the capacity to use the bilge pump to get rid of it, and you're sunk. So you gotta fix those leaks. You gotta repair those cracks, and don't even let that stuff in. Now that's easier said than done, because we have anywhere between 5,000 to 10,000 thoughts in a waking day, and 99% of them are BS, saying that you're not worthy. Again, that's why I said it doesn't matter what somebody else thinks. It doesn't matter what somebody else's judgment is. That's none of your business. It's how you see yourself. And the minute you think you're unworthy and someone has convinced you or taught you that you might not be worthy of something, of life's greatest blessings or life's riches, however you define them, that's when you need to cheerfully smile and walk away. Because those thoughts that you're not, and the world says a lot now, like I'm enough, right? I wrote the book that'll be released next year. The cover is right here in front of me. It says I am enough. Okay, I've got 2 that'll come out before that. So I've actually changed the title of that book to just simply, I am worthy. I'm worthy of everything God wants to give me. And no man, no woman can tell me that I'm not worthy. You cannot judge me. No one can judge me. Only the divine can judge me. And that's a relationship I have with him. So don't tell me I'm not worthy to be my best. Don't tell me I'm not worthy to be a giant and to awaken that giant within and become who I was created to become. No. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day, and I'll be on my way.
Yeah. And this is where people really get to sit with and be with their thoughts of themselves and who they think they are. And some people know who they are. They say, I know who I am, in the positive, right? You have others who are really uncertain of who they are, and they waffle between their ideas of themselves and the ideas they think others have for them. There's Lisa Feldman Barrett. I use this again and again, says we feel depressed when we feel like we're not measuring up to our own ideals. We feel anxious when we feel like we're not measuring up to the ideals we think others have for us. And we can never know what others are thinking. So the only thinking we have is the thoughts that we're having about their thinking, right? So we can only judge ourselves again by our own thoughts. And as you said, we have so many thoughts a day that a majority of those are negative. If we're thinking that ourselves are negative, well, if we don't know that we're doing that, this is where we start with people. We wake you up to that. If you start to hear what you're saying and you can really hear yourself, the way you speak yourself to the world, you would stop it immediately the moment you heard it. It would be like calling bullshit on the chef in the kitchen. You would say, I am not doing that anymore. And you would start to shift it. You would feel the feelings, you would have the thoughts, and you would shift it. You would be grateful for what you learned. You would acknowledge your life exactly as it is, and you'd recognize this is my platform. This is where I launch, right? Too many of us fight our platform. We look at our reality and we say, this is bullshit. I shouldn't be here. But this is my reality. This is my platform. This is where I'm launching from, right? It might not look like somebody else's. But when you can start to accept your reality just as it is, Carl Rogers says this, then you can change. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it starts with me, starts with you, starts with each one of us taking personal responsibility for all the stupid, wicked, brainless, dumb things you've done in the past, because we all have. Forgive yourself. Forgive your parents. They did the very best they could. They were growing up while you were growing up. And then forgive everyone else. And just realize that we're all on our own journey. I'm no better than you, and you're no better than me. We're all the same. We're all children of a loving God. Can I get a metaphysical for just a minute?
Oh, yes, please. Yep.
So in my new book, Through Santa's Eyes, which I didn't write, I just dictated. We talk about how their real life experiences. I've had the blessing to wear the magical coat and hat and glasses for the last 24 years. And I don't sit at a mall and ask little kids what they want for Christmas, because the real Santa that called me, he asked what you're going to give for Christmas, with the challenge to be less selfish, be more elfish. But in that book, I actually get a call from Santa. Can I take you there real quick?
Yes. Yeah, please do.
So this is 1999. Megan is 5 and Ben is 1.5. She's almost 6. And second Field of Dreams experience in my life told me I was supposed to be Santa. Okay, for you watching at home, that can sound kind of goofy. Who wants to be Santa? So I thought I either have to hide this from my children, or I have to get them right involved in the middle of it. So one Saturday morning, my kids are with me, and I'm baking cookies. And Megan, I say to Megan, hey, go in my bedroom and will you get my watch off of the dresser? And I hear this clamoring from the bedroom and this giddy yell. And Megan comes running into the kitchen. She's like, Daddy, you got to come to your bedroom right now. You won't believe it. Come to your bedroom. And I was like, well, what is it, Megs? And she comes and she grabs my hand and she drags me down the hall and into the bedroom. And as I stood there in the doorway to the bedroom, laying on the bed was a Santa coat, Santa trousers, the boots, the hat, the hair, the bag, and the spectacles. And there was a letter. It was beautiful. It was this gold foiled envelope. And Megan had hopped up on the bed and she flipped it over, and it had that big glob of wax with the big SC imprinted in it. And I said, why would Santa be writing us? We write Santa letters. Why would he be writing us? And he goes, he didn't write you, Daddy. This says to Megan and Ben. I said, well, read it. So Megan opens it up and she just stares. And I said, well, read it out loud so we can hear. And she reads, Dear Megan and Ben, I am getting older every year. And there are more children on the earth than ever before, and I can't do this by myself. I'm calling your daddy to be one of my chosen ambassadors of love and light. When he's not with you, he will be with me this holiday season. Can your daddy help me? Yes or no? Love, Santa. And that's how I got the call. And because I'd been an entertainer for 20 years, I knew how to make the phone ring. And over the past 24 years, I have been blessed to see the most amazing miracles through Santa's eyes. I cannot describe for you what it's like to have a child look at you, and it's not you, but they're looking at the magic. They're looking at the mystique. They're looking at you with such belief. I remember one of my very first experiences. It was like my very first year, 19. I was performing for the Children's Miracle Network at the convention center in Salt Lake City. And I get up and I did my show and, be less selfish, be more elfish. I do a whole comedy thing. We sing and we dance and it's hilarious and it's a lot of fun. And then we get serious for a minute. And I challenge the audience to be less selfish, be more elfish. That's why the people of the North Pole are the happiest people on the planet. Why? Because they're elfish. So I would say we need more elfish giants in the world. So be less selfish, be more elfish. And as I'm backstage after my performance, I was behind the pipe and drape. You can imagine the scene at a convention center. I'd come off stage and I noticed there was a little girl, maybe about 9 years old, holding hands with her little brother. And I could see they were waiting to talk to me because I do not line up kids and say, what do you want for Christmas? And the people that have me come know that I won't do that. I'll ask them what they're going to give for Christmas, but I don't ask them what they want for Christmas. That's what mall Santas do. No disrespect to mall Santas. And so I motioned for the little girl to come backstage, and she was so proud as she walked backstage with her little brother in her arms. And she stood right in front of me. And she looked right through me. And obviously he was not doing so well. He was bald. He was probably 4 years old, very gaunt looking. You could tell he was sick. And she looked at me, right through me, into my eyes, and she said, Santa, all I want to give for Christmas is to make my little brother better. What do you say? What do you say? You don't say anything. People don't remember the words we say. They just remember the feelings they have when they're with us. She changed my world. She actually believed that through the magic of Santa, her little brother could be healed. It's that belief, by the way, that does heal people. She believed it. That little boy believed it. And I don't know what happened in the rest of the story. But I've seen countless miracle after miracle after miracle that as people have believed in something with such emotion, right? The law of belief says whatever you believe with feeling will become your reality. Well, I learned an important lesson, and I've incorporated this into the book. So as Megan and Ben go to her bedroom to write their little note to Santa that, yes, our daddy can be Santa Claus, chapter 2 is fictitious, but it's how I have to weave what's going on and set it up. I go back into the bedroom, and I hadn't noticed it, but there was also an envelope and a little present for me. Now, being the kind of person I am that used to open up his presents on Christmas, before Christmas, and see what they were, and then put them back in the wrapping paper and put them under the tree, I couldn't wait to not open the present. So I opened up the present, and I opened up the box, and there was a little red bag with a gold drawstring. And I opened it up and something metal fell into my lap and I picked it up. And it was a tuning fork. A tuning fork? Why in the world would Santa give me a tuning fork? One, I'm not a musician, so I don't know what a tuning fork is. I listened to it, and it was the sweetest note I had ever heard. Oh, that just made me feel so good when I heard that note. I didn't know how it worked, though. I'd only seen a tuning fork during 6th grade band. And I looked on it, and right here where the two forks come together, it says 528. 528.
Frequency of love.
Huh. But I didn't know. So as the book unfolds, I have to discover what 528 is.
Huh.
And so it's woven through true stories. Now, I fictionalize the stories a little at the beginning and the end of how I land and how I take off, so that parents can read those stories to their children and their grandchildren as just a story. They don't need to read part 1, which is all the setup, or the very end, which is some special 7 lessons learned from Santa. But those stories in the middle, they will change your world. They will rock your soul. And again, I didn't write them. I was just an observer in those stories. And then I just dictated what the divine told me to write.
Can we talk about that?
Please.
You know, the Richard Paul Evans talks about the download. The Giants and the Smalls was a download. The tortoise's hair was a download. It's like I didn't write it. Like you said, I just transcribed it. I captured it and transcribed it. That's all I did. Right. Just like you're saying here, is that when these things come through, your job is to capture it. Right.
And it is just a transcription, right?
Yeah.
I thought I had Through Santa's Eyes done, Nick and Ryan. And then who ruined that for me? Rick. So I'm with Rick at his ranch.
Thanks to Rick, we're sitting here right now.
Thanks to Rick, the whole book has completely changed. And that's why now in the book, I actually have conversations with Santa. So there's a fictional part of my book that I've incorporated. Thanks, Rick. That now it totally makes sense.
Ruining healing lives.
I've struggled. And then I get down there with him and I explain some things. And it's not that he said do it that way, but I was just there and I was in the moment. I was being inspired by him and the other people in our retreat. And then it just came to, I remember I went back to the bunkhouse, the guest house there at the ranch.
Yeah.
And I was laying in the bunk doing my affirmations. I'd recorded this. I have a face for radio, so I also have a studio and stuff. So I put together this affirmation thing and I was listening to it. And then seriously, like you're talking about, the new book, the new version of Through Santa's Eyes, Be Less Selfish, Be More Elfish, came in an instant, start to finish. And now I just have to see myself as capable to transcribe it in such a way that will do the divine right.
I mean, it comes so fast, right? Like your job, I had a recorder I would carry around with me and I record it and then I'd go home and transcribe it. And it would just flow through every word, every conversation, every dialogue. And Rick screwed up my book too. Right? It is what it is today because of Rick Evans and his daughter. You know, it's amazing. Even that is part of the creation. Even that interaction was part of the creation. Is trusting every step is leading toward the outcome. I wrote that book in 2009, and here we are today, 15 years later, just about where we are today. And all we are today is where we are, right? No matter.
I thought I was getting a steak dinner out of the deal, and then I showed up to the Rick's author ready, and in walks Paul Cardall, and then boom, boom, boom. Here we are.
Those two guys just astound me. You know, I had a great conversation with Rick on Friday, I got a text from his dear assistant, Diane Glad. We all love Diane. She is such a sweetheart, and her grandson Nathan, just you can't help but be inspired by.
Oh, his hot
little
dog
Nathan.
stand. That was pretty rad seeing.
And
Nathan's hot dog stand.
Diane lost her son a few weeks ago in a horrible hiking accident. And Diane holds a very special place in my heart too. But she texted me, and the text just said, "Can you talk to Rick, right now?" Okay, sure. So I called Rick, and he said, "Hey, will you MC my book release of my next book in the Michael Vey series, book number 9. We're going to have this big launch event at Cottonwood High School on the 29th of September. Will you be my MC?" And we had a moment, and that's what life is all about. I don't care where you live. I don't care what you drive. I don't care that you have a houseboat on Lake Powell and that you have the best vacations in Italy. I want to know, who are the people closest to you in your world? Who are the people that you hang out with? Who are the people that you love? Now, hopefully they love you back, but who are the people that you love? If you, by the end of your life, can have 4 or 5 of those people, because based on current research, did you know that most Americans do not have one friend that they could call at 3 o'clock in the morning to get them off a lonely highway because their car broke down? Most Americans don't have one. So to have more than that, that's why I say I'm the richest man on the planet. I am so grateful.
Wow.
For the people that I lived and loved and laughed with. Because at the end of the day, last time I checked, Ryan and Nick, there are no U-Hauls behind any hearse. You're not taking it with you. So why are you focused on all that? Now I become more of a minimalist, and that stuff's not as important to me. But I think we're still so caught up. We're still caught up in getting things to have and do, when really it's all about being the giant we were created to be and finding that frequency. So Ryan let the cat out of the bag. You don't have to read the book now to find out at the end what 528 means, but it's the frequency of love. If I have a tuning fork, whatever the note is, I bring in another one that's not vibrating. I do have another one over there. It's wrapped up though. And I bring them together. This one will begin vibrating at the frequency of this one. I could take this, walk into the other room, if I had a grand piano. I don't. Lift up the lid of that grand piano, put that tuning fork over the strings, and it's that note in harmony with this one that will vibrate. And if it's middle note C, middle C, A, B, D, E, F, G, they won't vibrate, only the note of C. Well, the same is true with each one of us. As Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, then you need to understand energy, vibration, and frequency. So we all vibrate at a frequency. Now, we've met people before where we've said, geez, they're just we're not on the same frequency.
There's something off, right?
Absolutely. That's right. They are not on your frequency, or you're not on them. So the challenge to becoming the giant that you were created to be is to understand what that frequency is of a giant. Now, I'm going to make a pretty bold statement. Ryan, follow along with me here. I hope it's accurate. I would say to you that most powerful frequency that we're all trying to vibrate on is 528, which is the frequency of what, Ryan?
Love.
The frequency of love. The sound frequency of 528 in sound has its counterpart, 528 frequency in light. What color is 528 in light?
I was going to say purple, I think, but
it's green.
Green. Oh, green. That's right.
528 is what.
That's what I was going to say.
Green. Yeah, green. Good job, Nick. That's what activates chlorophyll.
You win.
What's green in our world?
Plants.
that which is growing.
Chick-fil-A
As long as you're
salad.
green, you're growing. When you're ripe, you start to rot. So stay green. So 528, when you study that, and I don't mean to get all woo, because it's kind of woo to me.
And we have a lot of woo-woo in here. It's fine.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
woo-woo. Can you
Yeah,
feel
we're good
the
with it.
woo? I
Yes, it's
feel
the
it,
heart
brother.
chakra. Thank you, Becky.
Yeah, right there in that chakra. Absolutely. But, I'm not talking, this is not religion and all this stuff. This is universal law. I was blessed in my early 20s to work with a gentleman by the name of Brian Tracy. You ever heard of Brian Tracy?
Yeah, I like Brian Tracy a lot.
So I worked with Brian, sat at his feet for 4 years. He was like $25,000 a day at the time. He's a lot more now. And I was just a young 22-year-old kid selected by him. I memorized his material word for word. And instead of him going out to corporations like Chevron, American Express, Bonneville International, I got to go facilitate the programs. New psychology of selling, psychology of achievement. The thing I remember most from all of that is everything he taught was based on the foundation of its immutable, universal laws. You can either live by the laws and be rewarded, or you can try to not live by the natural laws, or you're ignorant to them and pay the consequences. And we see this every day in the world. People get so angry and frustrated when really they're in dissonance. They're not on the right frequency, right? They're in chaos and dissonance. When really, if you just understand the laws, and there's some simple ones. The first one, law of cause and effect, C-A-U-S-E, not C-O-Z. The law of cause and effect says...
I like the law of cause and effect better.
Yeah, I had a twin brother effect, but I ate him in the womb. But everybody gets...
It tasted like chicken.
That's weird since we're triplets.
Like chicken. Yeah. There's triplets on the screen today. Thanks for wearing a hat so we can tell who Ryan is. But people are so frustrated because they're like, why is this happening in my life? I'm such a victim. No,
that's how they sound too, huh?
They do. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog too. They're victims when really you're just saying, well, the law of cause and effect says whatever you sow, so also shall you reap. You're not facing or fighting with your demons. That's just an excuse. Sorry, we're buffering. Somebody's on my Wi-Fi. Stop it. You're not fighting your demons. You're just now living with the consequences of your words or your actions. So it's easy to say, oh, my childhood. I was divorced 10 years ago and this and that and the other. No. You're just dealing with the consequences of your thoughts, your words, or your actions. That's the most basic one. And some people say, well, that doesn't apply to me. Okay, that's like saying gravity doesn't apply to you. Whether you're in Singapore, London, Dublin, New York, Salt Lake City, and you drop a bowling ball out of a 30-story building. Okay, we don't have any 30-story buildings in Salt Lake, bad analogy. But if you drop the bowling ball, what's going to happen 100% of the time?
It'll fall.
Whether you believe in gravity, whether you accept gravity, whether you're like the guy who came up with gravity, it's going to fall to the earth. What percentage of the time?
100%.
100% of the time. And that's how laws work. Law of belief, whatever you believe with feeling becomes your own reality. The law of concentration, whatever you dwell upon grows. The law of correspondence, as within, so without. They're true regardless of who you are, where you live in the world, how old you are, what family you came from. When you live by the laws and understand them, life's a lot different than thinking that life happens to you and that you are just a pawn in all of this. Giants are not pawns. Giants are in control of their own kingdoms. Giants take 100% responsibility for who and what they are. The smalls, they see themselves as victims and not worthy and not good enough. Well, I say today, stand up, my friends. You are a giant. Understand what we're talking about here. And again, it's a Sunday morning. This is not religion that I'm talking. I'm talking pure science, not Fauci science that can change based on political angles. I'm talking about immutable laws that govern the universe. The way the universe was created and built was based on these principles. See, I don't see myself as a pawn on a chessboard that God just moves around. If I live by the laws, I'll be blessed. If I break the laws, I'll be punished. There's no accidents. Well, the law of accident says failing to plan is actually planning to fail, that nothing happens by accident because it's a natural result of whatever was put into it. So I'd say to be a giant, always be learning, be a student first. And as you learn all of this, all the woo, it'll make more sense. And you know what? You'll be calmer. You'll find peace. You will find happiness. You know what's interesting about COVID? Here, the whole world's locked down. And I said, no, not for me. Because I'd spent the previous 5 months in a little booth voicing Audible books. And I said, I'm not doing this anymore. And then all of a sudden COVID comes out and people are like, you got to sit in a little box all day. I was like, hell no. Nobody was on the freeway. No one was on the streets, man. I got around. We did amazing things. But I understood what I was supposed to do. And I just lived the laws. And great things happened. I didn't subscribe, and I don't care if you're an anti-jabber or whatever. What I'm saying is we were fed with so much crap in the name of science that now, 3 years removed, we realize they didn't have a clue what they were doing. And it was actually detrimental to an entire generation, these poor kids that can't read, write, and do arithmetic. We were going contrary to truth. So study, learn, understand all this. And you don't have to be afraid of different beliefs and different things, because all these people who started movements or churches and religions, right? Whatever your beliefs are, they lived in harmony with 528. That's why when people met them, there was a feeling that resonated as true. We have the capacity to be a vessel for 528, but it takes time, it takes effort, it takes sacrifice, it takes discipline to get on the frequency that literally heals. I just got a new book. It's not sitting here. I'd hold it up and promote it. I got it on Amazon. It's called 528 Love. It's about this thick. And it costs $40. And I haven't read the whole thing, but it's just fascinating that in 1939, the Rockefellers, because you know that's a few families that still run the world. We'd like to think we live in a democracy or a republic, but it's usually, control. 3 companies control all of the media in this country. I worked for one of them. Please forgive me for all that I did in media. But the Rockefellers knew the power of frequency. Now, this is going to sound like a little conspiracy theory, but check it out. It's true. Music was then in 1939, the standard tune for America, the tuning fork that all musicians would tune by was A440. Now, A432 is close to a divine frequency. A44 is closer to a divine frequency, but A440, what's interesting about that is if things are tuned at A440, did you know that the music that produces actually dumbs us down by 95%?
Wow.
They knew what they were doing because they know they can control the herd if they can control the vibration. So it was Goebbels in World War II, the chief minister of propaganda for the Nazi Germanys. He did the same thing. Everything was tuned at A440. A440 with the F sharp note actually produces a frequency of 741, which is called the devil's interval. If you listen to that frequency long enough, it can kill you. So be the change you want to see in the world. Figure out what frequency, all the blessings that you want in life, where that comes from. And then you have to be that person. Now, the great thing about this is you hang around with other people that are at a higher frequency, and you're open to it, you can tune to those people and they can tune to you. So that's why I say it's so important. You don't want to try to be 528 and you're hanging out with a bunch of people at 112. You guys ever read the book Power versus Force? That ring a bell? Okay, I want to...
Heard of it.
Okay. Look at the book. I don't want to step out because I'm wired here and I'll rip it out of my ears and it'll hurt. But there's a book called Power versus Force, and in there is a chart. I don't think I can show pictures. Anyway, he talks about the map of consciousness. And this is fascinating to me because if you think power versus force, Ronald Reagan, to me, I met Ronald Reagan when I was 17 as a young news reporter, got to spend 2 days with him. Okay, that guy vibrated at a high frequency. I don't care what you think his politics were. That guy had a vibration. That's personal power. That's a giant versus force. Let's use Hitler as an example. He ruled through force, right? Powerful, but force, not power. There's literally what's called a map of consciousness that goes from 0 to 1,000. And if you look at that, down around the 100s and 200s are emotions like guilt and shame. And it's been said that most Americans today live at 200 or below. So look it up. Just Google map of consciousness and look at the chart. Do it right now. And then ask yourself, where do I live? You know, love is at 500. Interestingly enough, gosh dang it, science is science, no matter how it's measured. And then it goes up above love, and at the very top of that is enlightenment. That's where Buddha, Christ, all those kinds of people, that's where they lived. That's why I'm saying if it's to be, it's up to me. If it's to be, it's up to you. You choose the frequency you'll broadcast and the frequency that you'll receive. The best way to describe this is think about an FM radio tuner, right? A receiver. All those frequencies are out there in the air right now. In fact, there's light waves, sound waves, cellular, microwave waves, millions of waves. We just can't see them because we are not receiving them. You're driving along in your car. You can listen to Big Buddha in the morning on 92 FM. You can go over and listen to John Carter at 100 FM. At the same time, they're both in their studios broadcasting, but they're being received on different frequencies. So if you're over at 107.9 FM in the morning with Ryan and Nick for Morning Drive, you're over there and somebody else is at 88.9, the two will never meet. You're the receiver, and it's a digital receiver. So it's not just 100, it's 100.7, it's 105.9. It's that precise. So get around the people that are on the frequency you want to be on, and then that will help you attract those people in harmony with you, who you are. You know, they say birds of a feather flock together. Science, truth. Why do certain birds flock together? They're literally a vibration in that species. Everything, this table, this microphone, this hair, vibrates at a frequency. We either tune into it and tap into its power to be giants, or we ignore it. We think it's all an accident, and we remain small.
I just tried to pull up the map of consciousness and it froze my whole computer.
I see. You're not.
Yeah.
No, but just look that up. You know, it will make so much sense. You don't need to even read that book, right? That if you just look at the chart, you'll go, I get it. Look at all these emotions. Look at all these negative emotions down here where it's a low frequency vibration. I'll also give you one little tip that has helped me tremendously. If you go to YouTube and you just type in 528 frequency, you'll find video after video after video with documentaries telling you about it. But go to the ones that are 2 and 3 and 8 hours long. And there are videos with music that actually emit the frequency of 528. Just fall asleep to it.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you will wake up feeling completely different. You can listen to 432 to become more creative, to open the floodgates, to tap into those alpha waves. Again, if you would have said this to me a few years ago, I would have went, woo! Do the research. It's true. Use science. Use the way God created this earth as an asset to you, not a liability. Get informed. That's how you become a giant.
It's beautiful. Ryan, do you have some final thoughts before we wrap up here? I can't believe we're at time.
Yeah,
Overtime.
Isn't this the
Yep.
Joe Rogan broadcast?
This is what happens when you dive into. Yeah, this is what happens when you dive into the world of Coz Green. It's
the Wizard of Coz.
The Wizard of Coz.
Yeah,
that's a weight on my shoulders I don't want. It's,
yeah.
You know what? But what did we already learn?
Yeah.
Right? Dorothy, Tin Man, Lion, Scarecrow. Yeah. They went to Oz.
They're all right here. Oh,
they already had it.
So no pressure on Coz.
To the man behind the curtain.
All right. It's interesting because you talk about frequency. When I've lived my life, I drew a sun, and this sunshine will get this. I drew a sun, and you know how a kid draws a sun? They draw like squiggly lines that all lead to the center. Those are the people that are that come into my existence, into my reality. And each one of you, I know most of you that have been on here, and those that came in that know Coz or maybe happened upon us by accident, you just came into our space because of the frequency that we're emitting and that we're being. Coz Green came into my space because desperately trying to get around people of higher frequency. Nick Smith came into my space because of wanting to be in that frequency and desperately searching and being as much as I could in that space. There's been times I haven't been 528 and higher. There's been times where I've been below, but because I've surrounded myself with giants, those times that I feel like duct taping my car window, they lift me. They love me. They help me see the giant inside of myself, and I get to do that for other people as well. Coz, you're that type of a person in my world.
Thank you. I'm honored.
You come into. We're doing a show with Al Richards and John Absey and Big Buddha, and he comes, throws the door open and slides on in, and he's Santa Claus because he is that. He is that frequency. He is that miracle for so many people. And man, I'm so grateful for you, Coz Green, for just being and understanding these things and then sharing it with other people. And you can put on a different hat in every different arena that you're in, but the frequency that's emitting is that of that tuning fork always. And I am so grateful that I'm blessed enough to be one of your friends and to be a giant with you. So thank you so much. I just can't thank you enough. So
I'm honored. Thank you for being here and for inviting me to be on Giant TV. What a blessing. I'm the beneficiary of this experience today.
I think I'm trading NT Rex for 528. I'm going to call him 528.
But still, hey, when Truth in His Eyes come out, please. read all the stories so you know what 528 is, because he doesn't know at the beginning of the book.
We'll do that.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, Rick. Thanks a lot, Rick.
See what you did? Well, Giants, you that are watching this, thank you for making this show what it is. Thank you for sharing this with those that you love. We have over 200 interviews now of people like Coz Green. Every story is powerful. Every philosophy that they share, their views on the world, how they live the world, has helped me become who I am today. I'm continuing to grow. I know there's no peak to this mountain that we're climbing here. And that's the beauty of what we're doing, is that it's constantly able to keep up with my desire to keep growing. Like there is no limit. And so as much as I want to imagine and create, this universe supports it, and it doesn't care how big it gets, it'll support it. And so that applies to you as well. So as you watch the show and you hear yourself and Coz Green and the wisdom that he shared today, take that and apply it. Don't just hear it and then go back to your life the way it was. Be changed forever. Start being the giant that you're capable of being. It's already in there. Now be it. Right. And the more you be it, the stronger that muscle gets and the more giant things you can do in this world. And so we see it in you. Our goal is to help you see it in yourself and to start being that. And so make it a giant day. We are so grateful for you. We will see you in the next video.
Love you too.
Love you. Have a great day.